Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Arc Raiders. Today it's time for updated blueprint guide for 1.12 and beyond with everything that I currently know. Blueprints remain ultra common compared to the past, but it is important to know where to find what if you're going to be target farming anything specific. For example, they have a fantastic survival augment, the key weapons like bobcat, vulcano, tempest, or even just anvils and so on. It's good to know where you find these, but also that some things have changed recently. Embark have twisted and changed the rules for blueprints many times already, and it does seem like they may have tweaked things again. So let's start with the new info. What's the seeming change? Keep in mind that this is based off player experience in many reports, so take it with a grain of salt, since the whole blueprint info is purely community-driven data that, again, they do change. It's been highlighted that players on Reddit have found augments much more commonly lately, and in places you wouldn't normally expect to, such as finding them in a car hood or an electrical box, which previously wouldn't have touched that loophole at all. If true, it suggests the blueprint pool of augments is now wider than it was before. This is a change we've also seen with trial rewards, where we're now seeing quite a few times that weapons that are normally rarer and only found during a specific event, such as the bobcat, are now being found as a trial reward. Since I've seen that multiple times, I believe it. One final new note is that in my experience and also various reports from Reddit players, key rooms have become a bit more reliable in terms of loot. That then ties into blueprints because you've got locations, containers, loot quality and rarity that if you enhance via using a key room as well in a high value loot location, it should be fantastic for blueprint farming. So if you're sat on some keys, I recommend running them at night and trying your luck. Or during a specific event like Vulcano and Hidden Bunker if you're after something like that. Okay, recent changes and information covered. Here are the rules you need to know to go forward with the farming. Blueprints can be found pretty much anywhere, and specific kinds of blueprints are also set in their own tables or pools. Medical blueprints will likely be found in medical containers, found likely in medical locations, as is logical. Having said that, you can loot all kinds of different containers of different types in all kinds of locations, such as medical containers in places where the medical tag for the location isn't one of the main tags. Blueprints are a rare spawn, and you can control how likely you are to find a rare spawn by following the simple rules of combining the map modifier and the location modifier together. So, night raids have loot chances increased. Locations have outlines such as yellow or red to show the rarity or value of the loot, with red being the best for high value loot. Not to mention you've got key rooms and higher tier keys with their own color grading. Combine it together and consider the location tag and container types you're actually looting to target farm and increase the chances that you get what you're looking for. Okay, awesome. Now we can move on to the blueprints that spawn in their tables or pools. It's a short list of types. So again, the medical pool will likely be found in medical tag locations from the medical style containers. You'll be more likely to find those blueprints by increasing the chances, which again you can do by combining map modifiers and location loot value. But what are medical blueprints? It's the Vita shot, Vita spray, and the defibrillator. And if you want to find those, well then I target the medical pool and raise the rarity as much as I can. Simple example of this. Go to a medical location and loot medical containers because there'll be a bunch there. I'll go to a high value medical location, like the medical research area on Stellar Montis. I'll loot it during a map condition that increases my odds in general, like at night. Does this mean I'm going to get all three or any? No, but it means my odds of spawning a rarer item, like a blueprint, tied to the correct loot pool is higher, and then I roll the odds as many times as I can by opening as many medical containers in that context as I can. That's how it's done. Alright, with that all explained once again, let's now do the known blueprint pool locations. What's the source of this? Well, it comes mainly from my own experience combined with Josh and Cotton's hundreds of hours of play. Most of these I have footage of myself or one of the three of us finding it multiple times. But frankly, at this point, with the blueprint spawning so common now, community examples are extremely common, so I feel a lot more confident about the ones I'm going to list today. So let's get into it. Beginning with the map event tied blueprints, because these are obvious. You have the Vulcano blueprint, which comes from the Hidden Bunker event. Keep in mind that yes, you can go into the Hidden Bunker and search all the containers there, and that's where we found ours. But the truth is, you can find it in different containers around the map. And since, you're on a special event where loot chances are higher, your chances are good. You can also open a key room at the same time to further increase it. It's a decent way to go about it. So on this same note, the locked gate event, which is finally properly in play, this is where you're going to find your bobcat blueprint, most likely anyway, and you don't even need to be inside of the checkpoint once you've opened the gate. I found my first bobcat blueprint outside of the gate in one of the red lockers just in a random room before the gate was even open. But again, going inside and looting is a great idea, especially if you can loot a key room for even better chances. Okay, moving on to some more vaguer stuff, let's talk about the snaphook blueprint. You find these during the electromagnetic storm events. Just any container, follow the same rules, increase the odds. I found 2 back to back by simply looting the annex on damn battlegrounds, all the containers in their high value loot location during the map modifier, yeah. But I've also found plenty on Blue Gate as well. It's just the storm event. If you want the Tempest blueprint as well as the wolf pack, most reports come from finding these at night across different maps in fact. But for the Tempest specifically, a lot of reports for whatever reason come from Buried City, so I would probably skew your searching there. Not specifically in the grandiose apartments as many have claimed in the past, but just any location on the map at night. But the best places are the most condensed loot. And remember, locked rooms, higher chance. Same thing for the wolf pack. In fact, on damn battlegrounds, in the locked room using the power rod, that's where I got mine. But moving on, there are map exclusive blueprints, although that's just still a Montis for the moment. This came after the expedition patch, where they very clearly called out some changes they made, such as the Aphelion blueprint, and how they moved it from the Matriarch core to Stellar Montis specifically. So that's why you're finding the Aphelion blueprint on Stellar Montis specifically. But you're also going to find the Deadline Mine, the Seeker Grenade, the Trailblazer, and the 2 mines of Pulse Mine and Gas Mine. These are all Stellar Montis specific blueprints. So simply by looting on that map, that gives you that chance. If you want augments, these are found from 2 main locations: medical containers and military style containers. What do I mean by military style? It's the black lockers, black crates, and the box lockers too. You can find those all over the game, but some prime obvious spots would be like the Manticore facility on Blue Gate. There's that one armory room that everyone knows about, and there's a load of these in one condensed location, which is great. But there's actually a few lockers and boxes all over that same location. And also you've got medical containers in a higher up room, so logically you can hit all of those as well. Other great locations would be the security area and Stellar Montis lobby, especially if you have the key for the locked room there, since there's those containers there, and then higher odds, right? There's also the armory room in the medical research area, which again is also completely covered in medical containers to really search for those augments. Please be aware again though that the new reports of augments being found in surprising locations outside of that are happening too, so you could get lucky anywhere it feels like. I should also mention here that the black military containers that we're looking in those for the augments can also spawn the complex gun parts blueprint, which is where I found mine. So if you're targeting that, those containers are the best choice. Moving on, we have medical. So Vita Shot, Vita Spray, and the Defib. Just search the medical containers. Like I said, medical research on Stellar Montis is top tier, but there are plenty of other medical condensed locations, such as Hospital on Buried City. Next, if you want weapons and weapon parts, that's the 3 weapon parts of light, medium, and heavy blueprints. You've got classics like the Anvil and Toro green or uncommon weapons, the rares, Osprey, Torrente, and the Venator, and then the epic, the bettina. These are all in one loot pool, and you can find them in raider caches, weapon cases, grenade tubes, ammo cases, and raider bags. This is a large blueprint pool, which means you can have a hard time finding any one specific one, but because there's multiple reliable sources of them on every map, that certainly helps. If you want to make it more likely, especially with the rarer ones, I recommend looting these containers while in a red high value loot location. That's where I found my bettina this wipe, inside of Checkpoint from an ammo box, which is of course a high value loot location. Of course, there's also the uncovered caches map event, so you could just target specifically raider caches and spam the numbers. Next, we have the attachments, which is a massive blueprint pool, probably the biggest one, which is why it's very hard to get the one you're after. Container types and locations for these are kind though, found largely from commercial and residential locations and those containers. That'd be the classic apartments on damn battlegrounds, the massive locker lines in say the library of Buried City, or say the grandiose apartments and various houses on that map. There's also the spaceport and the locker room in Departure Building. That's fantastic. To target the rarer attachments, just like we said throughout the video, do the same thing but add to the loot chances. So higher value loot locations combined with a map mod such as night or events like Hidden Bunker, Lock Gate, or even Storm. But I also do recommend for this one, target any surveyor you see. They break into many parts which seem to have a chance to have these attachment blueprints, especially the main core as it were. I found actually a good chunk of my attachments from these guys, so when you're doing this kind of stuff, I recommend running 2 seeker grenades to quickly kill them. You just look at it from a distance, wait until it exposes itself with the blue light, throw 2 seekers, and it's dead. Cool, moving on, we have the 2 special weapons, the legendaries of Equalizer and Jupiter, found via the Harvester event. The 3 special containers you get after completing the Harvester event, they dip into the Harvester blueprint pool, obviously, and that means the Equalizer and the Jupiter are special weapons from there. You can even get lucky and find both from one event. There's also the Core of the Queen to consider as well, if you're fast enough to loot that. And as a passing mention again, the Aphelion, you have the Matriarch Core, but mainly Stellar Montis is the map, as they specifically called out, and where I'm finding them now. Then we have the other 2 types or blueprint spawners. We have Trials. Remember, Trials rewards for 1 or 2 or 3 star offer blueprints. This is much more RNG, won't really work for target farming, but can be a great way to get blueprints or ones you're randomly struggling with. Anything from augments, attachments, and even weapons. Rare ones like bobcats have now been reported quite commonly from trial rewards, so definitely do them. You do also have ones you can get from specific quests. So if you want the Trigger Nade blueprint, you want to complete the quest Sparks Fly. It's probably the most important one. For the Lure Grenade, you get that after completing Greasing Her Palms. The Burletta blueprint comes from Industrial Espionage. And the Hullcracker blueprint and the Launcher Ammo too, that comes from completing the Major's Footlocker. But for now, there you have it. That's my overview of everything I currently know about blueprints. Once again, be wary that changes seem to happen and have happened recently with the whole augments and car huts thing happening. They can, and apparently will, change the rules when they feel like it. But I will say, whatever the state they're in now, compared to how stupidly rare they were in the past, it feels a lot better. Especially when they added new items with Stellar Montis, and then the blueprints just didn't exist. So as always, we'll be on the lookout for any changes or new discoveries, but until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.